yeah, okay, I'll give a quick introduction and then I will just share my screen. So, hi everybody, I'm Tarusha. I'm the co-founder and CEO of OroPocket. OroPocket is not just an investment platform. We are empowering users to invest in gold and silver and thereafter use them as a real money in real time. What this essentially means is that we are 100% asset-backed banking on blockchain. So this is just a very quick intro of what we do. And now I'll just share my screen and hide myself. So I'll just leave blockchain out of the mix for now. What I can do is just, perhaps I can share my slides later, Shantanu, and then you can share it with everybody, or you can put it up somewhere that way. And primarily, whatever is on the slides, I'm going to be talking about it, so you're not going to miss out on anything if you're not able to read it or if it's not legible. Anyway, so yeah, leaving blockchain out of the picture. So tokenization is actually nothing new. It's basically securitization, but done on blockchain. All of us have heard of securitization in some way or the other. I think most of us would have seen Big Short. So the concept of securitization is basically a more general form of tokenization. It goes way back before the emergence of cryptocurrencies. Securitization is the process of pooling various types of contractual debt obligations and then perhaps selling them as bonds or pass-through securities or CDOs. As I said, all of us must have seen Big Short, and it talks about CDOs quite a lot. So securitization has been in place for a while, turning assets into securities or turning debt into securities altogether and selling them off. Tokenization is basically like securitization, except that you're putting this on blockchain. So I'll give you another example. If you have, say, a real estate property worth $100,000 and you need to raise $20,000 and you don't want to sell the whole property, that is where tokenization makes it easier. So you tokenize an asset, you can divide its value and ownership rights, you can fractionalize it. So your property, which is worth 100,000, can be perhaps divided into 100,000 tokens, wherein each token represent a certain share of the property. So when user buys a certain token, they own that particular percentage share of the property. So if they buy 30,000 tokens in this particular example, then they will own 30% of the property value. And if they buy all 100,000, then they become 100% owners of the property. This is how tokenization works. And with the very nature of this particular technology, blockchain, it's immutable. So once registered, the ownership of the asset cannot be altered or erased. So the gist is the tokenization of assets is a concept using blockchain to securitize assets. It's the process of issuing a blockchain token that digitally represents a real tradable asset. These can either represent regulated financial instruments, equities, bonds, loans, funds, tangible assets like real estate, artwork, precious metals, or even, intangible assets like intellectual property, copyright to works, authorship, etc. Now, why do we need blockchain at all? So, it's not just a fancy word to add to the mix because everybody seems to be using blockchain now. But why do we need blockchain for real assets? So there is no real, no territorial barrier when it comes to blockchain. When you put assets on blockchain, any investor can invest in a property located in any part of the world without visiting there physically. Investment becomes secure, they become fast, they become easy with asset tokenization. So then again, you eliminate the middleman. So there is no, escrow involved. There is no, another party like a third party involved. And again, it makes things move much faster. There is fractional ownership. So basically assets that might have been out of your reach earlier because there might have been a minimum investment amount or they are just really expensive to get into, they kind of become more available, right? When they are highly, when they are digitized, they become highly divisible. So investors can actually invest in small percentages. For example, as I gave you with that particular real estate, a farm, you can, if you tokenize it, then you can actually own a part of that farm. Okay. There is a broader investor base. Obviously, again, this comes to the territorial barrier aspect because in trading in real world assets, it has a restriction of demography where you are located. But with asset tokenization, that gets eliminated completely. It's completely possible to sell or buy tokens that represent a fraction of ownership of something that is not, close by to you. So that and cheaper and quicker, obviously, because when once it is on blockchain, once it is tokenized, it is far more cheaper to do these transactions. The fee is almost negligible. Depending on the chain that you're using, they can be really, really quick. Again, they are quicker and faster when you know, as against doing it in real time without tokenizing it. And obviously, then depending on the chain, how cheap or how quick that could come into play. Improved liquidity, obviously, bringing the investment process on blockchain provides a low friction environment, right? So, asset tokenization, it enables automated transfer of ownership while ensuring compliance. So, with reduced complexity, cost, tokenized assets present the possibility to invest with fiat money or using P2P trading on a regulated exchange, thus improving liquidity. So why do we need to do this at all? What is the need to tokenize assets? So here again, the reasons would be pretty much a lot similar to why is blockchain required. So tokenizing assets make them accessible because of fractional ownership. They become accessible. They can be accessed anywhere around the world, 24/7. They become immutable. So anyone, once they buy a token, ownership cannot be revoked in any way. There can be no fraud when it comes to ownership. It can be transferred, obviously, from one person to another, but disputes and conflicts can be solved up quickly because you can just look up those immutable records which are there on blockchain. It's completely transparent. As each record is maintained on blockchain, it's completely transparent for everybody to see what is happening. It's cost effective. Again, it's very cost effective as when you compare it to real time trading of assets where the fees can be really high. So eliminating intermediaries can also helps with this because there are no middlemen. So that also kind of brings down the cost, and it's easy to invest. So tokenized assets offer greater liquidity. They offer the possibility of fractional ownership, and removes that that minimum investment amount as I spoke of earlier. So, what is the scope of tokenization? What all can we tokenize after all? So, as Shantanu, mentioned in the beginning, people are trying to tokenize a lot of things from exotic assets like artwork, sport teams, race horses. He mentioned. I've also mentioned it in my slides. And even traditional assets like bonds, real estate, venture capital funds, commodities, precious metals, almost every asset class can be tokenized. As long as there is some value, some transfer happening, you can put it on blockchain. So real estate is being tokenized. Commodities, as I mentioned, private equity shares, physical goods. The list is huge. So the benefits of tokenization, because it increases liquidity, creates faster settlements, lower costs, and bolsters up the risk management. Tokenization is the way to go. So how do you start doing it? Like as a person, you're looking at some sort of an asset class and you think you're an expert in it. How do you go about doing it? So simple steps are just for you take an asset, you fractionalize it, you put it on blockchain, and there you go. You tokenize an asset. But the the jokes aside, the detailed process would be basically to identify the asset you want to tokenize, obviously. Then you evaluate the asset value and the confirmation. You determine the tokenomics, okay, the economics of your tokens. What do they represent? You start generating smart contracts. Obviously, before this, you have to choose which chain you're putting this on. Decide how you want to tokenize, whether you're giving equity or cash flow, and do whatever kind of compliance that is required in your country. So with chain, again, this is I can talk about this ad nauseum, I think, but I won't go into a lot of details. But main questions to ask yourself before choosing a chain would be, how scalable is it? Okay, for by that I mean how many transactions can it handle per second? Okay, so Bitcoin can handle a certain number of transactions, and Ethereum can handle some, and it's different with Stellar as well. So you have to figure out how quickly do you need your particular chain to respond to your transactions. Scalability is the first question that you should be asking. What is the cost involved is another question that you should be asking. What is the gas cost involved? What is the cost per transaction? Because ultimately somebody will have to bear that cost. Adoption is very important, because with all blockchain platforms that are based on they're all based on the same kind of overarching philosophy, that they can but they differ in the functionality aspect, right? For example, Ethereum and Ripple, just like taking two examples. So they are both on blockchain technology, but they offer vastly different functions. So Ethereum is more of smart contracts, DeFi. It's for enforcing agreements between two parties. Ripple, on the other hand, has tom-tomed itself as more of currency transfer technology that makes cross-border transactions easier. So it is important to look at the adoption rate and the community support as well, because that will help you in the long run if you're trying to tokenize something. Are there, those tokens being utilized at all? So that also like kind of tells you whether what kind of a community support can you expect. Functionality. So I think functionality I have already covered, because I gave examples of how some chains might be more suitable to do certain jobs or to record certain kind of information than the others. Which chain really now, because we have done this, we have actually tokenized gold and silver ownership. So we have chosen Ethereum, and we chose Matic for as a side chain. And the reasons why we chose Ethereum and Matic, primarily it was speed, cost, community support, and Matic is also special love for an Indian project. I haven't mentioned this here, but yeah, that also kind of had a role to play in the choice that we made.